like 25 minutes, I was trying to iron this shirt, I swear to God. Like, I've come to the conclusion that it's not meant to be ironed. Like, this is actually how it's supposed to be, it's a part of the style. And I couldn't give up, I had to bring this with me because, you know, it was a product of 25 minutes of work. And my little brother can attest to that. My name is Mustafa. I'm a 19-year-old poet from Toronto, Ontario. I'm from Regent Park, and that's Canada's first and largest housing project. 19. I've been performing with Walrus since maybe I was 17 years old, and before I can use like age as leverage, and I feel like I'm getting old now and irrelevant. So like, I actually have to be good now to kind of survive on the stage. My talk today is called Breaking the Chains. This is about Africa's next generation in the inner city community, specifically in the inner city communities of Canada. I grew up, and the reason I began writing poetry was because of a lack of understanding of myself, I guess barriers within my home and barriers outside of my home. And I started to bottle up all of these emotions inside of me. And I think that this world is made up of expression, you know, and regardless, some people say that people don't know how to express themselves. I don't necessarily believe that's true. I just believe that people express themselves in the wrong way a lot of times. So when my parents came from Sudan, they were immigrants, and I remember a story. My dad going into the parent-teacher interviews with me, and he had to sit down, and because his understanding of the English language was very weak, he was filtering out the words. I could watch him, his eyes just traveling as the words were being spat out to him, and he was filtering out the words he didn't understand, and trying to make up sense of concepts that were coming at him very quickly, but he would pick up key words like bad, and foolish, and playing around. And so the post-conversation after the interview was always a conversation that lacked in understanding. You know what I mean? Lacked in understanding because he didn't understand some of the things that my teacher was saying, and it was hard for me to express that because I didn't even understand the Arabic language well. So here I am dancing between two cultures that I don't even understand, trying to integrate into the Western culture, being a young black African, and trying to integrate into the culture that my parents want me to understand and tell me that I have to understand because it's a part of who I am, but it doesn't feel that it's a part of who I am because I don't understand Sudan. I don't understand Sudanese culture, and I don't like Sudanese food, and I was a kid that didn't understand. And that was a problem. So it makes for the same problems that we deal with in Sudan. Makes for the same problems we deal with in Africa. I have friends that come from Somalia whose homes were bombed there, and they come here and their houses are shot at in inner city communities. It's like, where are we really coming from and what are we coming to? It's a cycle. And it's that expressing themselves the wrong way. And so for me, as a young African, as a young Sudanese man, I feel I have to walk into classrooms, doing poetry workshops, teaching other young Africans how to express themselves the right way. My little brother is here with me today, and it's the first time he came with me on a trip. And I've traveled the world, and I've performed in the inner cities of Ireland and Paris and all over America. And he's 12 years old now. And for me, we've reached the point now where he doesn't have to come to me at a point of survival. You know, I'm not coming to him at a point of survival. My parents came here for the purpose of survival, surviving physically. And there are many forms of survival. And so for them, they felt honored and they felt privileged to have a beating heart, you know, to just be here in this country and to have the opportunity to live. But now I could look at my little brother and tell him, you have the opportunity to live and dream and love. You have the opportunity to dream, and that your dreams can survive as well, and your love can survive, and your spirituality can survive. And there are many other things in your life that will survive alongside your beating heart. And that's the goal. So without further ado, I'm going to begin a piece. And for me, like, it's music, it's poetry. This is my form of expression. And this is the way that I communicate now with my parents, with my family, and with other young Africans. So I'm going to need your help for this piece. When I say I can still love, I need you guys to repeat that to me. So here's how it's going to work. I can still love. 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 Oh, I can still love. I can still love. You guys can just speak it. You guys don't even need to do it. You know what? We're going to move on to a new word. I need you guys to say, when I say joy, I just need you guys to say joy now. I want you guys can love, and now you guys are going to be joyful. Say joy. Joy. 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 Say joy. I know of young kids that can teach you how to mourn, how to trust a God you never see, how to trust the air when it's hard to breathe, that'll tell you when to leave the funeral when it's over. Young kids that can hold you with broken arms as you grieve, whose hearts broke 1,000,000 times but still manage to believe that it's still together in their chest beating and free. Oh, so many children that know death better than we do, whose imaginary friends found a way to disappear too. You can't teach them how to love with a heart you never carried, with bodies you've never buried. They play with the soil that people use as their blankets, find sadness lurking during weddings and birthdays. Young kids who've outgrown any child play, who can't afford to wear their smiles some days, but the days they do, they light up rooms, their love, and their love falls on skin like tattoos. And though they learn of darkness too soon, they still laugh when their mother turns off the light and pretends to be a monster in their room, though they know real ones exist too. Say joy. Joy. Say joy. Joy. Say joy. Joy. Say joy. My hands. Etched on our hands are these scars. No matter how untouched our perfection is flawed, the hurt of this world is remembered on our palms. Still I use them to hold my dreams, as fragile as they are. Still I use them to hold. And when we enter this world, I don't believe we cry because it's cold, but because hearts have turned cold. And so we begin to fear for our own, but we quickly learn about those whose left hands have veins that stretch to those left behind, who silence our cries with their beating hearts that are reborn each time they look to our eyes. They wrap us with blankets that will turn evils away, and the sorrow falls down our faces like liquid, for we are holding the breaths of today. Etched on our hands are the maps of our homelands. We are nomads that found shelter in the stars, aspiring to be born into oxygen that reminds us to breathe. We speak our thoughts into the air. We refuse to let the winds forget our voices and our names. We repeat them until it whispers back, and we'll cut through the wind's path like the cuts on our palms, to remind it that it can always have a change of direction if things go wrong. Etched on our hands are forgotten love notes, because not every soul gets the opportunity to be loved. Not every child can afford to dream. So I fall into a sleep so deep, sleepwalk, carrying dreams as big as the moon. I may get lost in this love and forget my way back to my room. Sleepwalk to dreamers kept up by the darkness, share pieces of this moon so they can fall unconscious among stars. See, reality is overrated. This is how in a sorrow-filled world we've made it this far. Not daydreaming during day jobs, but turning daydreams to day jobs, wearing hope around our neck like an IV line, with the hopes that we'll survive, that we won't flatline on faith this time, won't turn on the TV to watch faith rewind. We do what we can for those who can't. We grow large enough to show people a sign. Etched on our hands is a guide to survival. Tears in our palms, we spoke, we screamed, we held on for this long, so that even when we sleep, the winds will continue whispering our songs, changing directions with our pain. We won't let it forget our names, though we won't let it forget our names. Say joy, say joy, say joy, say joy. And as long as the sun rises, so can I. And if I'm frail and small, I cannot shine. And they've seen me fall, so they must watch me fly. Let them see the wounds under wings that were once sky deprived. And I will love, for love does not wither like time. For bricks and bodies are only costumes for the soul. A soul I'll feed and clean and hold and let go. For the light I give off lets my community glow. For darkness kills the creative mind. In blankets we fold, and in blankets I tell stories about cultures of gold. I read my palms, for in them they are told. For in them they are told. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.